the actual the materials, and maybe even the subject, that's why I said about pot plants, should be easily within people's reach. But what you do with it can be as interesting or as exciting as you can. And that's why I keep on going back to portraits, because they're a human face, and looking at another human face is the most interesting thing that another human does with their eyes. Do you know what I mean?
Reading the emotions.
Yeah,
reading...
exactly. All those things, all the kind of, we're trained to pick up loads of stuff visually, loads of subtleties within the human face, and to a certain extent hands. Quite hard to paint hands. And that's why I keep on coming back to portraits, and that's why loads of portraits kind of fizzle out around the shoulder part.
Because the rest is just not
well,
really...
yeah, it's not as interesting. Unless, I mean, and when they do all the, let's say, the Elizabethan stuff, that's more to do with the power of nobody else but royal people are allowed to dress like that. It's against the law.
Exactly. She's wearing ermine.
Yeah,
you know,
and
it's showing the status of this person, or the jewellery, the social standing.
And there's loads of symbolism. Yeah, there's the crazy stuff and the more obvious stuff. But there's huge amounts of symbolism inherent in it, which we don't really get now. Maybe we do if let's say I had a big rocker's quiff or tattoos. You get that kind of symbolism, and it's a bit like that. It's there's loads of inference. But yeah, the normal human face is so fantastically interesting that there's not... Why would you go too far away from that, I think?
There's so much there, though. That's the point.
Yeah.
It's one of those things, as you're saying, the subject matter is so open to interpretation, and it's really saying something about the artist, and it doesn't matter whether it's something every day. And that's the whole point. But then the human face is something that's everyday, and yet it's something that often we don't actually understand or read into. We just take for granted. We blur it. It's part of something that we filter out.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Because you can't. I'm starting to get interested in that Asperger's syndrome. Apparently they don't have much of filters or blocks, and you throughout most of your life you have to filter out 90% of stuff because it's just too much.
Yeah.
Especially nowadays. But if you can focus in on a certain thing, like a look, just hold that piece of painting, it gives it a better example. Now, I'm not saying this is a great painting, but what I wanted to do with this is the same person twice.
Okay.
It's my friend Anna Parati. She had a certain look, and I wanted to consciously get that look rather than anything else. And so I made one of her eyes bigger than the other.
Okay. She looks rather mischievous there.
She's got. There's a certain fun to her, and there's a power to Anna. She's a good, strong Italian personality, and she's a woman, but she goes her own way. She does what she wants. She's in Kuala Lumpur at the moment with Sam. Hello, Sam. And I wanted to get that. I also wanted to have her twice in there. And I think this is some kind of Bob Dylan quote that I translated into Italian on the computer. Baby, I can't believe that you're for real, I think it was. Because it was all about, if you have the two people, the same person in the picture twice, obviously that can't be true. And also it's painted. So, and it's unnatural colours, but it's still fairly realistic, he says.
I like that.
It's fun, and it gives. I think it was a bit too strong for her. Strangely, at the end of the day, it wasn't. People. What's the word? You can't ever tell people's weak spots in how they see themselves.
I heard a very interesting. I had a conversation with a photographer the other day about this, where he was saying that people who don't like being photographed, for example, they see the very thing they don't like in that photograph, and it's as if the camera captures that aspect of what they don't like. Whereas there are others who are comfortable with themselves and see that in themselves. It's the camera doesn't lie in that sense, and in the same sense with when you're painting that portrait, because one thing the impression that I get from this, and also from the pictures I saw of Sherlock Holmes, there's a very simple. The lines are very simple. There's something almost like a sort of an illustrator would do.
Yeah.
The lines are bold and simple, almost in a way touching upon caricature.
Yeah.
But at the same time, far more refined than just caricature. It's because the whole point of good caricature is actually bringing out the personality or the characteristics of that person, and that seems to be what I'm getting from that.
Yeah.
And also from the Sherlock Holmes. So
Okay, I'll get that.
Absolutely. So I'm not surprised that she may have looked at that and thought, oh, "That's me." That's an aspect of herself that you saw in her, that you brought out and emphasised. That perhaps was she comfortable with it? Was she?
Yeah, that's the interesting thing. I don't know what necessarily. I think she thought her hands were quite big, which is a funny one. But yeah, you really can't tell in work as well. You can't tell what people are going to dislike. I've got loads of different variations on that story, but it mainly is stuff like my wife doesn't like green. I didn't know that. I couldn't know that. It doesn't make any sense to me. Great, thanks. You know, I've done an advert for lawn tennis.
Exactly.
This literally happened. Yeah. I did an advert for lawn tennis. Didn't like green. Well, grass, pretty green.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and that's one of the first things I ever did graphically. So you kind of know, or people saying, somebody. Sorry if you're watching this. Somebody who I used to work with, she had very low self-esteem. Oh yeah, and my fat knuckles. Oh, like, what? Yeah, I got really fat knuckles. Has anybody ever said this to you? No. Why would anybody that you haven't? And I just can't. Even now, it really hurts my head because of all the things in life to be insecure about. And also insecurity, we're going a bit off the subject slightly, but insecurity makes you less attractive to other people because you're worrying about yourself.
Yeah.
It's almost a bit, what's the word? It's almost a bit egotistical to be so melancholy about yourself.
Yes.
And attractiveness is all about being a bit more in your face and a bit more in love with life and a bit more excited about things. I usually I try and do a painting into the National Portrait Gallery exhibition.
Okay.
And one year I very nearly got in. I got to the hanging bit where it went down from like 2,000 to 60, and they chose 55 that year.
Shit.
Oh, it's alright. The painting was nice. It was quite funny. It got commissioned by somebody, and they split up before I actually painted it. And she kept it, but never showed him.
Was it a commission for as a portrait of both of them?
No, just of him.
Okay.
And he never saw it until I bumped into him and said, "Oh, you have to see it. It's on my blog." And he went, "Oh, thank goodness." We both bonded over music. He's a bit of a DJ. It was there's an Ella Fitzgerald album, and I kind of based it on that. He doesn't look like Ella Fitzgerald. He's a New Zealander with a beard, I think. But she's looking up him. That was sort of like that. So I made him do it. Yeah, and I don't think I've entered for the last 2 years for various reasons. I thought, well, I had an exhibition at Freud's. The only place I'd actually like to exhibit is Freud's. I'll give them a ring, especially now with the internet. I got told I should do a blog, and also being a kind of creative director type, I should know about these blog things, so I thought I'll start one. So all my work's there, and then there's that Saatchi Gallery website, I'm on that. And I thought, well, you know, if they like it, good, if they don't,
exactly.
No skin off my nose.
That's the attitude, though, rather than... Because some people are so conscious of how their work's going to be received by the I guess, the distribution channels.
Yeah, of
that,
course.
you know, will this gallery accept me? Will this record company accept me? Will this book publishing company accept me?
Loads won't as well. I mean, the interesting thing about that was 20 years ago I had to get slides made. It cost me loads. I was really poor. and I'd take them around Cork Street galleries, which is the thoroughfare for, if only writers had one, or the street where all the main galleries are in England. You know, the real posh ones. And they wouldn't even see them. I had to be recommended by one of their artists. To a certain extent, you can't go through loads of stuff every day. You have to filter it out, but there's got to be a better way. And I think the internet does an interesting thing like that. Because you can see everything so quickly.
Yes.
Yes, no, posh. It's interesting with writing. You have to spend you don't really have to spend that much more time reading a good paragraph, and then if you like it, you read another one, and then, so it goes.
That's the problem with the internet. People don't like reading on the internet.
Yes.
And, you know, I've often thought to myself, you know, should my article... I've played with this idea, should my articles be that long? And I've thought, fuck it, they're that long, that's it. Whereas whether anyone reads them or not is another thing altogether, but that's the point. It's people have very short attention spans with the internet, but then I don't want to make generalisations, because sometimes people actually like to...
If it's good, you can write this down if you want, there's a Bowie blog called Pushing Ahead of the Dame, which is a great... it's a WordPress one. I think it might be called Bowie Songs WordPress.
Pushing Ahead of the Dame?
Dame, yeah.
Okay.
Which is like a lyric from one of his songs. But it's really long-winded. It's about every song he's ever done, and most of Iggy Pop's ones that he's had a hand in. It's brilliant. It's probably the best. I read a fair bit. It's probably better than most things you'd read. You know, he was saying Radio 4. It's as well researched as a Radio 4 program. It's witty. It gives you different viewpoints. It also says, what terrible lyrics this was. Or David Bowie's tight trousers in Labyrinth have got their own Facebook page, and all that kind of stuff you want to read as well. You know, so it perks you up.
Yeah.
And the real killer one is that, you know, well-written stuff, that's great. It had really unusual photographs from around the time in let's say sort of 1978 in Berlin, but they weren't. None of them are of David Bowie. It's just like a sad person on a tube or something. It's just really unusual, and they make some kind of reference in the guy's head to the song, but it's a very oblique reference, and some of them are just brilliant. So you could even just look at it for that.
Absolutely, no, I'm definitely going to have a look at that. That sounds wonderful.
And they're going to make a book. Somebody's actually going to publish it.
It does. That's the whole thing. That I think that. The internet has a wonderful potential for showcasing things, and you know, but then the flip side of it is that it can tend to trivialise writing. It can tend to trivialise art, you know, because of that attention span, that idea that, you know, there's so much there's so much noise, and I think it's really about people reclaiming it.
But if it's good content,
absolutely, because there's so much rubbish content,
or no content, just recycled other people's content. And most magazines are lists and just, you know, gossip. They're not real...
it's kind of retweeted, it's
Yeah, that's one of the things about my blog, and there's a few other people who do this as well. It's very egocentric, because it was originally a portfolio, but I don't let anybody else do stuff on my blog. I don't really photograph other people's stuff or talk about other people's stuff, because I want it to be all original content. I don't want to rip anybody else off. The nearest I got is taking some photographs of some Alexander McQueen dresses in a kind of David Hockney-esque way, because they're all broken. You've probably seen it. It was like the Basques.
I didn't see that one.
They're made of broken pottery.
You did, yeah.
So I thought they'd be quite good to do in tiled photos.